A Souk morning once more and welcome to Souk Business Landscape. My name is Hans Mba, and of course, as usual, we are excited. I am excited to have my usual anti-usualist guest. His name is none other than Dr. Idahosa Osamhanze. Hello, doctor, this morning. How are you doing, sir?
Handsome, good Nigeria, good souk. All things being equal, we are getting to greater heights.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And I love, is it the coffee or is it the plaid jacket? There's this ooziness of top-notch mental states with you.
Oh my God, I don't know what you have seen. Some people are not happy to see that I have a cup in front of me, but all the same, it's my cup.
Doc, you will pay for this advert you are doing on this show.
I don't mind to pay. Maybe we just do counterbalance. We put the bills on the ground so we can.
Doc, it's not a worrisome morning, but things have been happening all morning. People have been talking on air, off air about the current state of things, especially as regards to petrol. I know we had this conversation on Monday, and it just seems to get worse as we go into the first headline on Business Day Nigeria. Tinubu's petrol subsidy gulps 15 trillion naira as scarcity worsens. Economists say subsidy is hurting government revenue. Doc, what's going on?
Yeah, it should hurt. Why? Because we have to cope with a lot of things at the moment. Businesses are trying to find fields. And what that means is that if government profit is going down, what government get from businesses also will go down. Yeah, as it is. But like Mr. President said, all this is anticipated. What are we looking for? We are looking for a new equilibrium.
Haven't we been looking for too long? A little too long?
Yeah, it seems too long. And this is really worried that people had complained in the past that the real problem in the sector was the fact that other players are not allowed to participate because there's a sole right given to NNPC to deal with this issue.
Yes.
And then government had gone ahead to liberalize that sector and to say NNPC is no longer the sole monopoly in that sector. Other players are given opportunity to participate. So now the key question here is for us to look at it. If other players are allowed to participate, why are we not getting the value which we desire? That is where the worry really is. We've seen the Dangote refinery. There's been a lot of back and forth as to where that crude was going to come. We saw NNPC give them some crude. They also imported some crude. Mm-hmm. Of course, the petrol has not gone into the market.
Why do you think that is? Because it's been again too long.
Yeah, but then it will take only Dangote to explain why. Of course, it's not selling petrol. You see, for me, really, it's not about the
price. Could it be frustration from the powers that be, or frustrations from, what's the better way to put it, from the regulators?
I don't think that should be. If you are buying a bottle of water on the street, you can pay 200 naira. But if you decide to buy it in a 4-star hotel, you can pay a little more.
A lot more, actually.
If you get to a 7-star hotel, the price gets bigger and better. So that is what it is. So that people who cannot stay with what is normal can decide to pay for luxury. So I would prefer to stay a minute in a petrol station, get my fuel and get going, rather than wait on a long queue, waste time, waste energy, waste resources, just to buy something relatively cheaper. So, and I think those options should be in the market, that people are allowed to sell petrol at whatever rate they buy. And if that is the fundamental that is driving the market, you will see that we will have alternatives. As it is now, you see people go queue, take fuel in the night in keg. In short, I had an experience this morning. One old man on the road telling me that a 25-liter keg is for 45,000. Now, if I was desperate, I could buy.
Yes.
And that's over 2,000 naira per liter. So that's an opportunity for people to have alternative. I was arguing somewhere yesterday. You see, if you don't want to pay low price, you can pay premium.
Right.
So it's as simple as that. So people should be given the opportunity to get premium. And if that market is diversified, it is now my choice as a person whether to get to the street to get a bottle of water, or to go to a 4-star hotel or a 7-star hotel. And that will depend on my ability to afford the luxury. Now, and I think if the market of petrol is allowed to operate this way, that people can sell as they buy, then, of course, we will get off this trouble. But unfortunately, there is this argument that, of course, petrol should become a social service. In other words, government must continue to see how to subsidize it so that people can buy it very cheap. But I don't think that argument for me is really sustainable. Because why people are arguing on this side of the divide that, oh, sell petrol cheap so that we can buy it cheap at our current salary. On the other hand, they are also negotiating salary increment. So these are issues that are very contradictory in terms.
Well, Doc, it brings me to the question I wanted to ask. I wanted you to land on your what you were saying. So for us now, I know in other climes there's premium petrol, then there's the other one, that 2 other levels. Does it apply here? Are people doing? Are people? Do we have the opportunity to purchase premium petrol, and do we know which is which?
Yeah, the market should naturally determine that. On Saturday, I was driving home. I saw queues on both sides.
We know there's bastardized petrol, there's dirty petrol.
But
premium,
we
don't know.
We don't know because really, of course, that of course should be the problem of the regulators, as it were, who should be able to put
premium you can buy on this side. Premium,
and we understand that, of course, so people are buying low cheap petrol, and there's also a premium, and you can really, because the authorities must be alive to their responsibility in that regard to determine who is selling premium product or who is selling a low-end product. But you see, for me, is if I decide to buy premium, I go for premium. Even if I want to pay a high price. See, because it's just like also what they're talking about, privatization of roads all across the globe. If you look at the way these things are structured, what people do is that they create roads and say this road is tolled with a sign on it. If you drive on this road, you are going to pay toll. But you have an alternative. Either you stay on the bad road or you stay on a long queue. So that choice is yours. So you have alternative.
That same vein, I think we should, we may want to apply that for...
Yeah, and I think that is the only way, because until you democratize the market, people won't find value.
True.
And that's always been my argument. Yeah, okay, NNPC can decide to sell petrol as social service. But the question, which of course that is begging for an answer, is the fact that the government also had given license to about 8 dealers to import fuel.
New or standing?
Many of them are recent. Now, these guys, what's really happening? Why are they not bringing in fuel? So we must go to the root, do a serious root cause analysis on why fuel is always like this. You know, yesterday, I was just trying to play the devil advocate, and I was saying, could this also be a scenario planning?
Right.
Oh, yes, of course, that we have gotten to a point that every time we are thinking of price increment, we create some level of confusion. And so people get used to the confusion, and then we top the price. You see, so these are all kind of guesses that all of us are putting in our heart because we really don't know what is happening. And this is because the really so principal in this matter, who are the regulators, are not even talking.
They're mute. It is such a sad situation. What to know about $500 million domestic dollar bond? Look, this bond is 5-year-old, and they're talking about 8.5% interest rates on this bond. You want to shed more light on it, about how it works?
Well, it's when you are selling dollar in a devaluated currency environment, you understand that you have set of targeted people at heart. And the key question is that, are you sure that these people are willing to play in that field? And this is, again, one issue that, of course, that we also must understand that, do I want to subscribe to the dollar bond, or should I just do arbitrage with the dollar in my hand, which will make more money?
The latter.
8.5% is small compared to the cashing out that is happening in the alternative markets.
With the BDC.
Right? Yeah, so many people will want to cash out and stay with the bond. So somehow we must also look at the environment where we are pushing some narrative and see whether people are willing to put that in. But I think this is to also encourage some people, especially those in the diaspora, to see whether we can bring in more dollar into the economy and make it more liquid. People have access to dollar, then they can import and do all manners of things. You see, again, we go back to the same issue. Because if you are selling dollar at 1,500, or 1,560, or 1,600, depending on where you're buying, and of course, you cannot even take the volume you want to do business from the bank at once, then of course, you have to go source your dollar. Now, if you source your dollar to import something, it will be immoral for a regulator to tell you how much you will sell that thing.
Oh, yes.
Because you have to sell it at your landing cost.
Right. More on that headline on page 32. Next headline, this one catches my eye because we've talked about this for a while, and we've also mentioned how a ton of monies we're missing out from as a nation. How we are facilitating the $100 billion opportunity in the creative industry. How we are facilitating $100 billion opportunity in the creative industry.
We're saying this.
Musawa. And it's on page 4, by the way. Okay. So interested parties, go check it out and get the full juice.
Yeah. I think the creative industry really had been doing hugely in recent time. There are very few countries that will beat Nigerian to it in that particular industry. Right. We have a lot of creative young minds, talented people. It's so amazing that all across Africa, Nigerian skit makers are making so much huge wave, and they enjoy a lot of following.
True.
From Asia to Europe to...
And it translates to cash.
Well, yeah, of course, those things bringing cash to the people who are able to be. This is where we really are in the new age, in the age of innovation and creativity. People are looking for alternative means to raise livelihood. And this creative industry is just open. And that's one thing that, of course, our teeming youth must take advantage of because it's an opportunity.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. I was saying to some young people on Sunday that, look, understand that the traditional ways of making money are getting out of date. And that's why you are seeing that a whole lot of companies are shrinking. They're not making as much profit as they used to. Take, for example, if you get into the soft drink business, because of the health consciousness somehow, a lot of people are resorting to what they call natural alternatives. There's a lot of blending of fruits and the rest of things going on, and that is taking a whole lot chunk of the market. It's just that nobody is studying it to see what chunk is taking it from the real big market. So people who are within the dairy industry, soft drink industry, of course, will lose a whole lot because there are so many alternatives right now that people are opting for.
True.
All of a sudden, things like tiger nuts are becoming a very expensive drink in the environment, and people prefer it because they love the natural sugar than the granulated sugar that is in the soft drink and things like this. So what you see in those companies, they'll be contracting.
True.
So these are issues, and you're seeing a whole lot of retrenchment going on all around the space because the economy is changing in dynamics. But you see this creative industry.
It's a cash cow.
Oh, yes, it keeps life going.
And not just the skip makers, like you rightly pointed out, the musicians as well.
As well, yeah.
The actors. See
yeah.
all the new movies that are coming out on the streaming platforms. And that's money for the producers and the directors.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing stuff. We need to cash in on that industry.
Oh, yeah.
On to Business Daily in Kenya. We're looking at the first headline. Banks step up the battle for rich churches' billions. Banks step up the battle for rich churches' billions. Doug.
Yeah. If industry is not giving you money, you look for where the money is. What
if looking for where the money is not according to rule of law?
There's no rule of law here. It's church. Church, they are making so much money now. Businesses are folding up and churches are emerging in their place. So bank should be chasing church.
Why I ask the question is, you haven't been chasing them before now. Why are you chasing the churches now?
That's where the money is.
The money has always been there, Doc.
Yeah, but you see, it's not as evident as it is today because, for a quite period of time, churches been treated as NGOs and they are seen as non-for-profit. And you remember those parables, they say church rat, which is always, the man is as poor as a church rat because the church was seen not to have money.
Right.
But now when you say a man is a church rat, it's no longer a symbol of poverty.
It's a different picture that
you see. Yeah, because the church rats are fatter now and they are looking more fresh and robust. So that's where the real money is because businesses, again in Africa, are not doing excellently very well. But you see the difference here. It's also to look at it. I was reading an article the other day that I think it was the month of May or June. Paul Kagame had to shut about 5,000 churches in Rwanda. Oh yes.
For what
because it said, of course, one, noise pollution. He talks about the indecent place of worship. And so the big ones are the ones that are really playing it big. And people are going in there, and the bank should be their patron.
Look, do you know what's even more intriguing? See what it says here. It says Equity and KCB, that's Kenya Central Bank, they move to hire bishops, priests as managers, and lenders bet on tithe offerings, investments to grow their deposits in their banks.
Yeah. It's a strategy. But you also remember some time ago, even in this our country, where, of course, if you have to be employed in a bank, you must have an uncle who is going to pledge a deposit.
True. It's
same strategy.
It's still on.
Same strategy. Because all they're asking you is that, yeah, we'll give you employment, but you have to bring deposit.
Bring the account.
Now, for you bringing deposit, it has to be who you know. So you must be able to say, okay, I have an uncle who has so much money. If I join, I'll be able to put the money in here and say, okay, come and join. Go and bring it. So we put you under probation and see whether you're able to bring the money. So the strategy is almost the same thing, that you have somebody who has a lead to a business and you are riding on that lead to get the business. So if a bishop is your manager, for example, then of course he's there to prevail on his general overseer to say, well, okay, you I see what I do, and I work I do. You can't leave me to go put money elsewhere.
Look, like we said, right? Like we said, so there's no morality in business anymore.
Yeah. Whether you call it morality,
Because if the bishop is now being put in as representatives in banks, as managers and stuff, because of the deposit they'll bring in the huge capital, what happens to the guy that's qualified, whereby the bishop isn't qualified per se, or has no qualifications in that regards?
yeah, but you see, it is also to look at it from a different perspective. And you are saying, what will you prefer? You get somebody who qualifies, who cannot bring a deposit, and then the bank run aground after paying salary for some certain period of time, or you get somebody who have access to deposits and then is able to bring the cash. These are business decisions.
Doc, that's an unfair example. That is so not fair. That is so not fair. But I guess it's what it is. Next headline: strong shilling lifts multinationals' dividends income from NSE, their stock exchange. Strong shillings. 2 days ago, we we're talking about the shilling not being strong. How come this is happening? Does it happen that quickly?
Yeah, but this is
overnight.
No. You see, as currency fluctuates, depending on how you are hedging your fund, it will determine whether you are making loss or profit.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Now, if the dollar, for example, appreciates now, those who are having their fund hedged in dollars, they are still having more dollars in their hand. So you can recalculate their wealth. And I think these are the things. So currency in Africa has remained so much unstable. It's moving from one end to the other. And as the currency moves, you can determine the actual profitability of a business or the losses of that business. So what you're seeing here is as the shilling strengthens, then of course you find that those who have hedged their investments in shillings, of course, are having really stronger investments against the USD. Now, if it's weakening, then of course you'll be making some losses against the USD. I think that's just the extrapolations that is being inferred here.
Okay. Next headline, still on Business Daily Kenya. Pension scheme squeeze returns from rising interest rates. And if you read a bit down, it talks about the people that are feeling the squeeze the most are the locals due to higher interest rates.
Yeah.
Pension.
Yeah.
Is this something that's still big around here? Like, I know across board they're different. It speaks. Over here, it's neither here nor there, because only some people are doing pension schemes for their workers.
Yeah, and I think that's actually unfair because, and I think it should really become a national policy that everybody who works to some extent must have some resource invested in their future, except that, of course, you are able to encash it and enable the worker or the employee to be able to do investment and saving for himself. And I think it was because of that that the Pension Act 2004 was initiated to see how we can get involved in contributory pension, where people who are working make contribution, and then the employer also makes some contributions, which total about 15% of your salary for the month, and then is kept with a certain institution that are expected to help you grow that resource so that when you retire, you have something to fall back on, because as you get older, you become weaker. Your ability to be able to make more money is also constraining. So you have to rely now on the one you have done while you were a lot more younger. But the huge challenge here is the fact that, like some people have argued, until people start to take the pension, we will know the value of what has been saved for them in the last 13 or 14 years. But if we see that those who are doing pensions and they are making some good gains, and I think it's commendable, as we see in Kenya today.
So we jump right on to Financial Times. We're going to the North Americas. So in the US, we're looking at dollar hammered as investors await Powell's route map for Fed rate cuts. So they talk about the lowest level they have ever been on this year. That's what's happening. They're talking about sell-off that's echoing the fade, and the eyes on Jackson Hole and the carry trade reversal fuels the fall. Dollar seems to be in trouble, though.
Well, I don't think there's any more news as far as I'm concerned.
The number one currency in the world.
And I think the real issue here is the expectations of people to see whether the American economy is actually heading toward recession. And that will depend on the decision that the Federal Reserve is going to take, whether to lower rates or to increase rates. So these are signs, would they call it the signs of the end times?
Oh, Lord. There you go again, Doc.
That we hope that the world is not plunging into another huge recession, that will have a crumbling effect on all global economy. So that's why people are looking at what the Federal Reserve is going to do. But in my thinking, I feel that there's a whole lot of arm twisting that is going on. People really don't know what to do anymore to gain the trustworthiness of people in terms of managing rates and inflation. It's even worse off for America today, really, because they are on the eve of their presidential elections, and which comes up in November. So if the economy is not showing some signs of resilience, of course, you know what that would make could be a regime change.
Wow. Well, you put it lightly, there's a regime change that's coming up. We look forward to it. So this one is interesting. US takes fresh line in Africa. So it's talking real projects. Now, a little excerpt from the article. It says, while China is viewed as Africa's most influential financer, thanks to its $1 trillion Belt and Road Initiative, the US is rushing to play catch-up, right? Further down, it says, now the US is attempting to emulate China's success by revitalizing Lobito Corridor, which is a 100-year-old rail line that will transport critical minerals from Central Africa, Copper Belt, to Europe and to the US. Doc, is this something to worry about?
No, it's not. You see, like they say, the more the merrier.
Does it always apply?
Oh yes, the more the merrier. What you're saying?
Too many cooks spoil the broth. So if it's more than one cook.
Yeah, of course, you have the opportunity to have a taste of everything, and then you can synthesize that. Really,
Okay.
you see, but the beauty here, for me, is to look at
the opportunity
that is being created for Africa, for example.
Is it?
Yes, of course. That's the beauty of competition. So we become the bride.
Oh, Lord.
And the suitors are running after us.
That is not a good picture.
And as the suitors are running after us, our choice will be dependent on who in our rating.
Who's richer?
We give more meaningful life. I don't want to use the word richer.
Who's treating the bride better?
That is what it is going to be. So Africa now can have the opportunity to negotiate. And then, of course, not negotiating from the point of weakness, but from the point of strong. because we have to also be mindful, because when two elephants are fighting, the grass necessarily may suffer.
That's true. Elephants, please don't fight. Keep us in mind, the grass. Next headline, Chinese-made Teslas face 19% tariffs in EU after Brussels probe into subsidies. Chinese-made Teslas, 1 point, 19% tariffs in EU, another one. So Brussels is planning to hit Tesla cars imported into the EU from China with tariffs of 19%, which is extra. Why are they hitting the Chinese-made Teslas with that much, should I say, tariff? 19%, that's huge. Is it because it's coming from China? What's the issue here? What do you think the issue is here, Doc?
Yeah, but you see, it's that trade ongoing war between the West and China.
Electric vehicles, but because one of the issue is Tesla is American made.
Yes.
Now they're talking about Chinese-made Teslas, and they're putting 19% tariffs.
Yeah, well, it's seen as a Chinese product, as it were, because it's contributing to the GDP of China. So what really is at stake here is the geopolitics that is playing out. And you must understand it. And don't also forget that where the Tesla stand in this election, you know, Tesla, Elon Musk, who for the first time in history has openly declared for a candidate in the US election. And the candidate is not the one currently in power.
And I read somewhere that people are saying that he's telling that candidate the role he wants to play, like in office.
So whatever it is, it's all count to tell you that politics is not as clean as it were. So the hygiene we often talk about sometimes are clothed in very beautiful and coat of many colors.
Also on the side, still briefing, Swedish interest rates cuts. Watchdogs eye 7-Eleven. Cave hits at Russian church. Bronfman sweetens offer. Of course, the billionaire Edgar Bronfman raises $5.5 billion. It's a last-minute offer for buying Paramount. That's the movie company. That's another money spinner as well. Pyongyang soldier flees. US shifts on plastic. We'll come to the tail end of the show today. Wanted to run through all that so we would have an insight and see the headlines that are interesting to us and where we can find them and what publications. We are still Souk News Television. The show is Souk Business Landscape, where we look at business headlines from across the globe and as it pertains to us and how Africa, Nigeria, can use what is useful and discard what isn't. My name is Hans Mba. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more programming on Souk News Television. Have a lovely morning.